Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Facebook Live. Those of you who don't know, I'm Sharon Buck, and I'm an intuitive sound alchemist. That just simply means I use sound to transform and transmute people's pain into their power. And I particularly love working with empaths and entrepreneurs, or anybody who's stuck in their life moving forward. So I regret that I did not join you last week. Um, I actually don't regret it. It's actually was some self care I needed to do. And that helped inform what I'm going to talk about today, which is moving from resistance to resilience and what that looks like, at least for me and for many people, I think. So, um, so one of the things I dealt with just last week was quitting a job that I had for 16 years. Um, and it was a very difficult decision in many ways because there were many things I loved about that job. And it was related to my musical talents and my strengths. And I know I contribute a lot there, but it really became clear that it was time to move on. And I found it very difficult, a lot more difficult than I expected because there were some things that I didn't like about the job. And so, that it's just one of those things that I decided was the best for me. But it's amazing how unsettling that has become for me and the challenges it has brought up for me. So I kind of honored where I was last week, which was I just did not feel like going live. I needed to go inward and feel some of the grief and the pain and work on releasing that. And so I wouldn't have had much to say to you. So it really has helped me kind of become more clear though. And this is one of the things about going into the pain and the grief is that there is clarity on the other side. It's not always easy going there, but my learnings have over and over again shown that the clarity comes from those moments, particularly the ones that are difficult. It is just part of being human, I think. And so, one of the things I've learned over my lifetime is that resisting pain makes it worse. And I have a great example of that, and that is, when I go to the dentist, and usually it's pretty routine, and I get good checkups and everything. But, in the past, I've had, issues with pain, and, teeth are very sensitive, and if you're a super sensitive person, it can be overwhelming. And so one of the things that I realized was that I had literally that I figured out that I've been tensing against the pain. And so, for example, when I got an injection, when they numb you up before a filling in this case, but I've had more difficult work done before. But I just tried. Well, what if I just took a breath and released it? While they were doing that. And I always ask them, "Will you please tell me when you're about to do it?" Because it's like some people don't wanna know, but for me, it just gives me an opportunity to release any resistance to that. And, sure enough, I reported quite happily to, the the lady at the desk afterwards that I had no pain, that it was an easy procedure and no issue. And she kind of looked stupefied and like, "How did that happen?" So, I also used a tuning fork. I didn't tell her, or maybe I did tell her that, actually, there are some acupressure points along, here on the around the gum line, right actually right here, and there's some other pressure points that I also did before a procedure. I've also worked with other people on that if you're ever interested. Pretty easy to get this particular tuning fork. It's a particular frequency. But anyway, I digress a little bit. Um, so yeah, so just noting that for myself and noting when I hold my breath and when I'm resisting, it's a good indicator. Our bodies really are our barometers. We can tell when we're tensed. Well, not, I shouldn't say we can tell. I have worked on becoming more aware over my lifetime. For example, when I'm pulled out of myself by somebody else's energy, or when I'm finding that I'm in an anxious place, it is a process. And so, actually, if you're not aware, it's much more difficult. So actually, the work I do helps bring awareness, and I think that's a part of the gift that I bring, is that people do become more aware of where they may be resisting, um, or just be more aware of what's actually going on in their body and in their life. So, the interesting thing is, every time I face my fear or my resistance, um, and embraced the change that was about to happen, it always opened up another exciting chapter in my life. When I go back over, excuse me, the times that I really felt, some fear and some anxiety, but I knew at the same time it was the right choice. It always opened something new. Um, in my life, a new opportunity brought new people into my life. It's kind of like refreshing things, pressing the refresh button on the computer. I mean, if nothing works, you press the refresh button, right? Bing. And there you go. Things are spruced up, so to say. Um, well, perhaps you can relate. And another form of kind of resisting is just running. If we can't deal with it, we just escape it, or we try to. I remember somebody that told me that they moved regularly, like every year, out of choice. And I thought, whoa, this is a little weird. I mean, maybe I don't think it was the person's job. They just always liked a new surrounding. But my intuition said there was something else stirring, that there was something not all right in that relationship. And this was a way of perhaps running. That I could be wrong. That was my intuitive hit on that. But so some things that have become clear about when we're in resistance, and and if you're, yeah, hi, there's some people here. Oh, you can't hear. Oh no, that would be not good. Oh, um, yeah, it seems to be working. I just checked the comments. I think it's clear. It might be on your end. So I just had this sudden thought, oh no, did I forget to turn my volume on? It's very possible, because I had some issues going live today outside. I was trying to not be in the full sunshine. So anyway, okay. So hopefully you can get that worked out. Anyway, so some things about when we are in resistance. And when we're in resistance, again, like I said, things often get worse. Things don't always work very well, shall we say. And so tension begets more tension, resistance begets more resistance. And, like for me in tech is a great example. Is if you've ever seen me, and my husband knows this well, some of my friends know this well, if I'm having an issue with tech in the past, and I can pretty much say it's in the past now, I could end up screaming at the bloody computer, right? And I don't think that made things very, very good. Yeah, it actually made things worse, right? And I never got to a solution. And so I have this other example where actually the same problem that the day before I was screaming about, literally the next morning I thought, oh well, what if I try this? And it was just like this actually was a refresh. It was a refresh uh, of this app or whatever I had on my computer that wasn't working. And I did it, and sure enough, it was fixed. In other words, I was so frustrated the other day, I couldn't even get to a solution. And there it was, right at my fingertips, and all it needed was a clear slate, a clear head, and just, it was so easy. It was ridiculous how had I felt really embarrassed that the day before I had spent so much of my personal energy wasting it on this tech issue that clearly I could get a solution to very easily. I know it doesn't always work that way, but I think it's a great example of how our attitude and our being, our where we are in our being affects so much the outcome of things. So another thing we do when we're in resistance is we resist life energy. We actually make it difficult for ourselves, but also for others. And other people don't like being around us when we're in that energy. So think clients. If you're trying to attract clients and you're desperate and you're, I'm gonna make this happen. It's gotta happen. I've got a bill to pay. I mean, that kind of sense to it. Chances are people are going to be repelled, not attracted. And I see this over and over again in my own life and in my own clients' lives. One person, had been in resistance. All of a sudden, when they started to let go and just be, one, two, three clients appeared. It's seemingly out of thin air. It's really not that uncommon. And so when we're in resistance, we're resisting a lot of life and a lot of opportunities. When we change is part of that, right? So what I was talking about, change is part of that, and change is part of a natural part of life. And we all get older, we all age, we all die. I know that's a downer, right? In a way, but it's the way we're built. I mean, cells are constantly turning over. We're not living in the same body moment to moment. The body is continually changing. The good news about that is I just read about a 71-year-old just this morning. Maybe you saw the same article where at 71, she has completely rebuilt her body. She's been doing weight training and among other things, and it has completely shifted her body. So it just goes to show you it's never too late. And obviously she's getting the cells to work for her much more for that turnover. So change is possible, but change is a natural part of life. And so when we resist change, we are resisting life. What gets us into resistance, one of the things is that our past pulls us out of our center. And I think of our center, when I'm working with people, we work the chakras in the center of that, or in the center of the body. We also work in the field around the body. But so the past, if people are in the past, they're pulled out of their center, literally. Their minds, and in fact, their whole being, their bodies, everything about them is pulled into that past, whether it's regrets about what they said to somebody or what they did or somebody said to them. And even a lot of this could even be subconscious, like you even forgotten what somebody said, but that stuff is still milling around in the background. It's in your cells. I mean, there's a book called Biology of Belief. There's a lot of this that science is showing over and over again, that these thoughts determine our bodies. It's scary in a way, and it's also exciting in the same token when you start to see that this is changeable, this is malleable. And so our past pulls us out of our center. Also, the other piece is that worrying about the future pulls us out of center. So if we're worrying about the future, we're not in the present moment. Or if we're worrying about the past, right? So if you're anxious about what's to come, like me quitting my job, it's like, okay, so now, how am I going to pay the bills, et cetera, et cetera. That's not helpful, really, ultimately. I mean, yes, you need to be proactive and be responsible, but worrying isn't going to get us anywhere. So either of those things will pull us out of that center, and just increase our resistance. Whether we realize it or not, we're actually resisting, again, that life force within us, and without us. Something else that pulls us out, that actually is part of our resistance, is doing things we hate. If we're doing things we hate, we are just increasing the hate factor, if you like. We're not really doing what we love, and we're bringing more of that negative energy into our lives. And why would we want to do that? And I know we're living in a strange time right now where many people are realizing what they were doing in their jobs before, and they're kind of sitting here going, how did I ever do that? Like, I know for me it was commuting, and it's like, how did I ever do that? How did I commute to school and then commute to work and then commute to the grocery store, and all this time spent on the road? It's unbelievable when you think about it, and probably many of you are thinking the same. That's just one example. But I never enjoyed commuting. So I don't miss that. Why would we do things that we hate, when that actually doesn't help us to move forward, right? That's keeping us stuck. Another example of being in resistance in a way is when you're with people who bring you down. When you're with people that are just, wet blankets. You have an idea and you're so excited. I just remember it was more than a wet blanket. I was getting my hair cut, and I told the hairdresser I was going to go to massage school. And she was so critical and just just unbelievable. And I thought, well, wait a minute. I know it's kind of a novel idea. I'm a musician, but still, I felt a really deep calling. I mean, it was so deep within me, and I was excited about it, and I just decided to share my news. You know how hairdressers are. Well, what's new? And I have to tell you, I never went back to her again. That was it. I just thought, I don't need this in my life, even if it's for one haircut. She's touching my hair. She's touching my head. This is where my crown chakra is. I mean, this is all delicate stuff. I mean, and I'm sensitive. So, it's just not worth it. And so I felt this wall go up, this resistance, and I thought, well, I just can't do this anymore. And again, kind of also another place where we may be in resistance is being in a job where there are more minuses than pluses. And that's kind of where I got to with the job that I just left. But this idea of weighing what the cost is, and how we're spending our energy. So when we're in flow, we have a feeling that things are in flow, that we're coming from our center, and that is energetic. And one of the ways that I feel this, and I think many people are, is when we're in our zone of genius, what's called our zone of genius, when we are truly aligned with our passion, right? Aligned with what resonates with us, aligned with our life force. We're aligned with who we really are, who we truly are deeply at our core. And so when we're coming from the place that the things that we do well, our gifts, all of these pieces of us that make us us, and we don't even see that. I mean, we're so close to it. What's easy for us is not easy for someone else. And I have to keep telling myself this, sound and sound healing comes easily for me. Intuiting what people need generally comes pretty easily for me. And that's not easy for other people. They actually need that. And so those of us who are healers, we provide that peace for people, that reflection, that guidance, that forward motion, that many do not have. And even I need that as a healer, because I can't see my own stuff. I need somebody else to reflect that back to me. So it's so important to honor us where our zone of genius is. And when we're in flow, another thing I've noticed is we're in creative flow. That, when we're in creative flow, we get our best ideas. And it's not when we're trying hard. It's not when we're, "Oh, I got to make this deadline." I mean, sometimes deadlines do help. Scheduling my Facebook Live today just made sure that I will get this done, and it may not be convenient, but I'm going to get it done at, this time. Um, but, when we're in creative flow, we're releasing, allowing that energy to come in. And so, and that's, when I get my best ideas, as I often tell people, it's when I'm on a walk, or sitting and enjoying the sunshine, or listening to the birds. It's not when I'm sitting down and saying, okay, now I have to come up with this idea. It almost never works that way. Often mornings are the best time for me as well. And that's why I guard my mornings, because that is a time when I often get some downloads. And so when we're in creative flow, we're not in resistance just by definition. Creativity does not thrive. Everybody knows this. If you have writer's block, it does not thrive under pressure, just by virtue of the energy. And so I'm watching a butterfly here and a bee. They were kind of talking to each other. I get distracted by nature. I just told somebody on Facebook, they say, how do you deal with nature? It's distracting at times, but anyway, I digress. So I was in the present moment at that point. When we are in flow, then that brings me back to this idea of when we're in flow, we are in the present moment. We're not thinking or regretting the past. We're not obsessing about the future. We are truly present. And I'll tell you that is one of the biggest gifts you can give anyone. Your spouse, your friends, your loved ones, your clients, they will love you. All you need to be is be you and be present. And that means putting your stuff to the side. We learned this in massage school. When you enter that room to give someone a massage, you leave all your stuff at the door. I remember a teacher saying, just leave all your stuff at the door. And it's true. You can't bring your stuff in with that. It's there, it's in the background. But when you're truly present and committed to that client, they will adore you. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be supported. So when we come from our center, life just flows more easily all the way around. And, it's like you're being available to yourself means you're available to others. And that helps everyone. Being in nature is the quickest way for me and for many empaths to get into the present moment. And so I often notice that my breathing changes. And when I work with people too, we work a lot with breath. So if we're listening to our bodies, and, there are barometers. They tell us when we're off. We just need to listen. And many of us are not very good at listening. Just the other day, I was noticing, when I was feeling a little down, I noticed me gravitating towards sugar. I've struggled with sugar all my life. It's been an addiction. I admit it, and it's an addiction in my family. And I have really worked hard at that, and yet I can tell and this is really listening to your body. It's like, whoa, I hear you're feeling a lot of grief right now, but sugar is not going to help. It's going to make it worse. And your stomach is not going to like it, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm noticing, these pieces in myself. When we're not centered, our bodies tense up oftentimes. You stop, you forget to breathe. I mean, you're breathing, but it's shallow. And, we're in our thinking minds. So, it's going around and around and around. What if I do this and then that happens? But if I do this and that happens, the truth is, we don't know what's going to happen. We were certainly not making things move along by doing that. So when we're truly listening, one of the things I do is I do a breathing exercise. It's called 4 square breath, and probably many of you know about it, but in case you don't, I'm going to just kind of walk you through it. So this is about shifting your breathing from this shallow breathing where the diaphragm is just fluttering, instead of actually dropping. There's a central tendon where the diaphragm actually drops. And when we're relaxed, all you have to do is watch a baby or a puppy breathe. Their belly moves very easily. Our bellies don't move much. I know this from teaching singing. We have to teach, we have to, as singing teachers, most of us teach diaphragmatic breathing, and there's different variations on the theme. But it's amazing to me how many people don't know how to access that part of their breath. So one way to do is just to blow out the air for 4 counts, like hold it and then hold it for about 4 counts. Take a breath and hold it for 4 counts. Exhale for 4 and hold. And then the cycle repeats. So I'll just walk you through it. So I'm going to blow out the air first. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Repeat. Hold. Hold. Yeah, and even in just that short a time, I've already noticed a shift at how quiet everything seemed to be inside myself as well as outside. It just so happened to be that way. But, all of a sudden I feel more grounded even, you know, than I was before. Something that simple, and yet how many of us are really aware of our breath as we're going through our day? So you might just pay attention to see what your breath is doing. It's that simple and that profound. And being in trust when the road gets bumpy. It's so easy to think that we are one way and that's all there is. It's easy to get into this narrow thinking and to think of ourselves more like a rubber band that can contract and tighten, but it can also expand and release and expand, just like our breathing. And so feeling that, life does have constriction, we can't deny it, and then just embracing that as we can, becoming resilient like a rubber band, being able to stretch with the change, whatever changes are happening for you. And I know there's a lot going on. There are a lot of shifts going on, a lot of changes, a lot of people making decisions, a lot of people changing their ways of living and their way of life, their business, what, where they're examining where they want to put their energies. And most of us learned control as a coping mechanism growing up, too, that this was a way to handle difficult things, to handle fear. And, those coping mechanisms are often quite subtle, and they require a high amount of vigilance, awareness, and courage to dig deeper. That kind of work is not for the faint of heart. But for me, I want to live a life with no regrets. That's what my life is for me. I don't want to regret a moment. And I hope you don't either. Are you running away or resisting, or are you embracing life and being a resilient rubber band, going with the flow? I want to invite you to contact me if you want it. I'd love to hear what you're struggling with and what you're willing to shift in your business or in your life. If there's something that I can help you support you with. And I'm curious what you are dealing with right now. So if you feel called to do that, I'd love to hear from you. And the other thing is, of course, reminding you that we have another sound bath coming up this Sunday. And so I'd love for you to join us, where we're dealing with some of this contraction and hoping to open that up with sound. So if you're at all curious, if you've been there and you want to join us, or if you've never joined us, I'd love to have you do that. The time is changing just through the summer, I think, but right now it's 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. Pacific time. So that is so that I don't have to be sweating playing the singing bowls. But I would love to have you join us if you feel called to do that. So maybe I'll see you then. And if not, I will see you at the next live. I hope you have a wonderful weekend with people that you want to be with in surroundings that lift you up. And I'll look forward to talking to you soon. All right. You take care, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.